very happy to have Vinny Chhibber's brother. You know him from his starring roles in TNT's Animal Kingdom and The Red Line. He is now on Big Sky playing Jag Bhullar. Please welcome Vinny Chhibber.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked to be here. I'm such a fan, and I know my sister got here first, but hopefully I bring the heat and I close the show well. So
yeah, of course. So let's talk about Big Sky. So it's a show that's you wouldn't think would center Asian American characters at all, right? It's rural and
yeah,
you don't think of Asians there.
Yeah, you don't.
So what was it like for you to be on Big Sky? Like when you got the call or when you went out for the audition, however you got the role, like what did you think about the character of Jag and how did that kind of like fit into the type of stories that you wanted to tell?
Well, what I think really attracted to, and I had spoken to Janina about it beforehand, was this idea that we weren't playing into the model minority kind of stereotype that's so often placed upon us. You mentioned earlier the idea of like overbearing parents or this. It was an opportunity to kind of break that and play characters that were, whereas they were definitely informed by their roots, not defined by them. And obviously I was stoked because Janina's a very close friend of mine, and to be able to work with friends is already such a blessing. But in this particular case, also work with someone that's South Asian, that's so rare. To work with someone that's Asian is so rare. And this was like, yes, like we're gonna go on. This isn't about like someone going to med school, someone having some sort of arranged marriage, or a restaurant. Like
you guys are looking for drugs. That's what I mean.
We're looking for money. We're looking for drugs. We are unapologetic
gangsters.
Who we are, and every opportunity that we saw, like in this particular, when we're talking about like the story itself and what it's been like. There's a moment. There are a couple of moments in I think it's 211 when our parents come, when Bernard and Constance come in, and this is something that has happened in my household where if our parents don't want other people to know what we're saying, they will speak in the native language to us. And this happened in my household all the time. I remember when I was a very close friend of mine, Tim. We were sitting there, and I've known him since I was 5 years old. And we're in high school, and my mom was mad at me about something, and she said something to me in Hindi, and then left the room. And there was a beat before Tim says, "Yo, your mom knows that I know she's mad at you, right?" Like it's not like. So thinking about that, there's a scene in the car, and my dad asks me, how is your sister? And I'm like, she's fine. Because I don't want to say anything because Alicia's, I don't want to say anything because of the whole log kya kahenge kind of like what will people say thing. You don't shame the family in front of people on the outside. And then I was like, yo, what if I said this in Punjabi? What if I told him actually what's going on, but I said it in Punjabi? And the writer's like, yeah, Janine was like, yeah, let's do this. And then I do it, but then he turns around and tells her. Like, but that was such a lovely, like that not only
like
was
authentic.
It was authentic, but it also moved the story along. So it wasn't just like, let's make some chai and talk about how chai is awesome. It was this stuff happens. Or, when we're coming off the plane and Janine had been like, yo, what if you like try to touch his feet, and which is something you do. And that also made it into the story. So like that type of people have to be open to it. Elwood, Ryan, all those guys, they have to be open to it and see it as an asset. And then you have to have people with you like Janina, like Raj, like Bernie, people from your own community being there, man, because most of the time in those spaces, it's like you're alone. Like we're just now like seeing it, but for the longest time, that's what's been so awesome has been you're part of a storyline and these characters that echo your experience in some way, and you're exploring what that means in real time. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just exciting again to have that kind of like representation being more than just like your face on the screen, right? But
Yes.
be able to bring authenticity and bring, you know, real lived in experience to these characters. And that's what makes it even more real. It makes it special to people who are watching at home, you know?
Yeah. And I remember when Janina was like, she saw that I had a bodyguard. She's like, yo, do we know any like
massive Indian dudes?
And we both, I was like, oh no, there's a guy. I know there's a guy. And I was like, this guy, his name's Jinder Mahal. Now I didn't know him. Janina didn't know him. Within 2 hours, we both had his number. She gave him a call and was like, yo, you want to do this? Like, and you know, he still had to audition too. Like, but it was this idea of like, this is what it is to open the door. And what a lovely addition he has been to the cast. And what an awesome human being he is. And it was like, it was so great to have him here too.
Were you were aware of his like wrestling background, right? You watched him in like WWE and stuff, right?
Oh, have you watched his intro video?
I mean, you would like he should be a bigger star. I mean, I think he won the title a couple times.
He did.
Perhaps,
he did.
Right.
He
Yeah.
has won the title, but that's what I'm saying about like elevating each other and opening the door for each other. And I'm not saying that like you still have to have game, you still have to be really good at what you do. It's not that, but the lack of representation in media and narrative is not because our community is not talented or because we're not working hard. It's really opportunity. And I think part of the responsibility of being in the room is opening the door for other people.
100%.
And we've seen how this works with, you know, I've been fortunate enough to work with people like Ava DuVernay and Charles King. And I've seen that type of advocacy and what it can do and how it can empower people in entire communities. And I think this is such a lovely example on this show of how it can work. Like, it's awesome.
It's just dope that you're a crime family though, right?
Yeah, I you know, that was something that that has been consistently on my mind since I started, which was, it's not just about like putting someone's face on there and you know, really looking at the person and seeing that diversity and inclusion can be an asset and not an obligation. And how do we like introduce nuanced narratives and themes into these broader stories that are actually representative of our really diverse experience as Asians, and even as I can even say as South Asians. As someone grew up and they grew up in a Gujarati household as opposed to someone that grew up in a Punjabi household. Some, you know, their experience, their cultural experience, everything was so different. The language spoken is different. So I think, you know, this is really a first step as far as, and credit to Janina for coming in. And when they were having discussions, Elwood Reed being our showrunner on Big Sky, you know, she was like, yo, I think there's an opportunity here, and to come in and, you know, like she introduced this idea, like she was supposed to be one, you know, this
one off. Yeah.
And I believe in this strongly. I know I don't want to speak for Janina, but I know Janina does, and many of us, you know, we can talk about the salon with Nick and Bash, but which is the idea that we're past the point of like wanting to be the one person in the room, right? You want to open the door and like you want to give someone else an opportunity to succeed. You know, they had us come into the writers' room and talk to the writers about it. And what's been so great is that you saw that the discussions we had an effect on the story and the characters kind of arcs. And so often it's almost like, well, we're going to have these people here, we're going to ask them their opinions, and you don't see it reflected on the screen or in the story. In this particular case, and it's been so lovely. That has happened.
Yeah.
And it's been so like empowering, and you see what actual like advocacy looks like.
100%. In fact, I mean, I know you said you didn't want to speak for Janina, but for what it's worth, Janina was on the show talking about Big Sky and how, you know, after her stint, she was like, what if Ren had a family? And what if that family, you know, employed a WWE champion like Jinder Mahal? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Raj is so good on the show. He's so good on the show.
Right. Like, why can't we have our own Rock or John Cena, right? Anyone listening, if they want to follow you and follow your work, where's the best place they can find you on the internet?
I would say Instagram is probably the easiest way to hit me up, and that's just V Chhibber, which is VCHHIBBER, on IG or Twitter. I'm not as active, but I'm there.
In the lectures, fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The Hard Knock Life.